Next, from Chicago, we attend a press conference at the University of Illinois at Chicago as State Attorney General Lisa Madigan and others discuss their push to override Governor Rauner's veto of the Student Loan Bill of Rights. This runs about 20 minutes.
Big lineup this morning, so I'm glad everybody took the time in this not so lovely weather to be with us today. Let me start by saying thank you to UIC for hosting us here today. And I want to thank all of these people who have come out for this very important issue. I'm certainly happy that throughout the legislative process, I have been able to work with an incredible group of very strong allies and supporters. And we are now working together on one very important goal, and that is to override Governor Rauner's veto of the Student Loan Bill of Rights, Senate Bill 1351. The Student Loan Bill of Rights has common sense measures to ensure that Illinois student borrowers can best manage and repay their loans. As the U.S. Department of Education continues to eliminate critical reforms for students, having a Student Loan Bill of Rights in Illinois is more important than ever. There are a number of other states that have already implemented Student Loan Bill of Rights, and I think that we need to do the same thing here in Illinois. So we're going to harness the power of all of these people and all of their organizations, and we are going to reach out to members of the Illinois legislature and tell them why we need a Student Loan Bill of Rights. So here's the big picture. Americans have an unprecedented amount of student loan debt. There are currently over 44 million Americans who hold over $1.4 trillion in student loan debt. 1 in 4 of those borrowers are behind on their payments or they've stopped paying entirely. Further, student debt disproportionately impacts women, people of color, first-generation college students, and older people. For women, it's because they take out more debt at every degree level than men. In fact, women hold nearly 65% of all outstanding student debt. Plus, women end up repaying their loans more slowly because they have less income to devote to loan payments. That's for a variety of reasons. They are oftentimes single heads of households, and they earn less money due to the gender pay gap. Black and Latino borrowers, many of whom are first-generation college students, are much more likely than white borrowers to be behind on their loan payments. First-generation college students are 2 times more likely to report being behind on their payments than borrowers whose parents have a college degree. And even older people are impacted. Student loan debt for borrowers 60 years and older has quadrupled in the last decade. Compared with younger borrowers, borrowers 65 and older are disproportionately in default, and once they're in default, they can have their Social Security payments taken away. The crushing impact of student debt on these groups of people has life-altering consequences for them and their families. As student loan debt has exploded, millions of Americans are being held back from buying a home, starting a family, launching a small business, saving for, or even being able to retire. Student debt negatively impacts them, their families, and our overall economy. So what is contributing to increased student loan debt? One of the primary drivers of student debt in this country is the for-profit college industry. More than half of borrowers who attended for-profit schools and did not get a degree are behind on their payments. Too many for-profit schools leave students worse off when they started, facing a lifetime of debt with no better prospects for getting a job. And to add injury to injury, after reviewing thousands of complaints that I have received from student borrowers, I've learned that too often loan companies do not provide the information that borrowers need to repay their loans in a financially responsible manner. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Student loan servicers, the companies that collect borrowers' monthly payments, are required to tell borrowers about repayment options. However, I've learned through my investigations that these companies typically don't tell borrowers about the most affordable repayment plans that are available, especially income-driven repayment programs. Instead of providing borrowers with appropriate counseling and information, borrowers are put into repayment plans that increase the total cost of their loan, just the opposite of what they should do. Further, I've learned that even savvy and demanding borrowers, those who have figured out how to enter income-driven repayment plans, weren't notified and given the information they needed to stay enrolled in these repayment plans. And it gets worse, because as a result of these shoddy and misleading practices, scammers fill the void with false promises to assist struggling borrowers, who then lose hundreds or thousands of dollars they could have used to pay back their loan. So while I have investigated and sued for-profit schools, the largest student loan servicer in the country, and many debt relief scam operations, I know that it is absolutely imperative that Illinois students have a Bill of Rights to require student loan servicing companies to tell the truth and provide all options when student borrowers need repayment assistance. I will continue to use the full power of my office to help students succeed in paying off their loans and realizing the benefits of their education. But I cannot do this work alone. I need your help. I need everyone to reach out to their state senators and state representatives and tell them to override the governor's veto of Senate Bill 1351. We need a student loan Bill of Rights in Illinois. Now, I would like to introduce my good friend and great supporter, Abe Scar with Illinois PIRG. Abe.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning. My name is Abe Scar. I'm the director of Illinois PIRG. And as part of a national network of state PIRGs, we were founded on college campuses over 45 years ago, so have long advocated for students in the financial marketplace, including helping to pass some of the student loan Bill of Rights that have passed in other states. Thank you, Attorney General Madigan, for your leadership on this and so many other important consumer issues. And it's a real treat to be up here with so many talented consumer and youth advocates today. At a time when Congress and those in leadership at the federal level are rolling back vital consumer protections, it's critical that Springfield steps up. Today, we're calling on the Illinois General Assembly to vote to override Governor Rauner's veto of the Student Loan Bill of Rights. It is unfortunate that some of our leaders in Washington are working to undermine really important consumer protections, whether that's the Department of Education, which is rolling back protections for student lenders or making it easier for-profit colleges to unscrupulously take advantage of students, or it's Congress voting to gut the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which was created in the aftermath of the financial crisis. At times like these, we rely on states, the laboratories of democracy, to take the lead and protect consumers. There's no question that there are persistent and ongoing problems with the student loan industry, including in servicing. The best evidence of this is the Attorney General's investigation, but there are also other indicators. Yesterday, I went online to the CFPB, Consumer Bureau's online complaint database, and looked up complaints in Illinois from student lending over the last year and found that they're up a whopping 229% this year compared to last year. So again, at a time when some in Washington are working to undermine these vital consumer protections, we call on the Illinois General Assembly to vote to override Governor Rauner's veto of the Student Loan Bill of Rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Abe. Abe, as he said, has been doing tremendous work, not just here in Illinois, but PIRG has been working throughout the country to make sure we are passing the Student Loan Bill of Rights in other states. Currently, there are 3 other states that have these bills of rights for students, and in addition, there are 6 other states that are working to pass these, in large part because of the fact that we are seeing a complete abandonment of student loan borrowers at the federal level. Next up, let me bring up another dear friend and great advocate, William McNary, who is the co-director of Citizen Action.
Thank you. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is William McNary, MC capital N-A-R-Y, and I'm the co-director of Citizen Action Illinois, and I'm proud to join General Madigan and these fine advocates to call on the legislature to override Governor Rauner's veto of the Illinois Student Bill of Rights, which is a bill that was designed to protect young people from predatory and abusive student loan practices. This bill, if enacted, would prevent Illinois consumers from being steered into plans that would increase their debt instead of being told about affordable, less expensive payment options. This bill is particularly important right now that President Trump and his Education Secretary DeVos have rolled back student loan protections that were put in place by the former President Obama. Citizen Action looks forward to working with the General and these fine advocates to protect and grow the assets of these students who have studied hard and played by the rules, yet studied struggle to make ends meet. Students need the protection from a student loan ombudsman to lessen their access to unfair and harmful and deceptive and abusive practices of this industry. As the General said, other states have moved on this, California, Connecticut, D.C. It's time for us to move here in Illinois, too. Attorney General Madigan's vigorous pursuit and convictions against financial predators has gained her a well-deserved national reputation. And the Student Loan Bill of Rights will give her an important tool to help young people navigate a confusing and costly college loan system. Lastly, the late Senator Paul Wellstone once said, politics is not just about power. Politics is not about money. Politics is not about winning for winning's sake. Politics is about the improvement of everyday people's lives. It is time for us to protect and grow the assets of these students who studied hard, who played by the rules, yet struggled to make ends meet. We urge the legislature to override Governor Rauner's cruel veto so our students can start moving from debt devastation to asset accumulation. And lastly, thank you, General Madigan, for your strong national leadership, for your effective advocacy, and for bringing us together for this most important cause.
Okay, William McNary's the best. Next up, though, another fine friend and great fighter over the long course, over the long haul, Brent Adams, who is now serving as the Senior Vice President of Policy for the Woodstock Institute. Brent.
So I get to follow the best. Thank you. Good morning. I am Brent Adams. I am the Senior Vice President of Policy for Woodstock Institute. I'm also the former Secretary of Financial and Professional Regulation, which is the state agency that would be charged to regulate this industry if this bill becomes law. Woodstock strives to make our financial system more fair and inclusive, particularly for lower income people and people of color. Woodstock is proud to support the override of the governor's veto of SB 1351. I have been paying back my student loans for about 20 years, and I still owe, as of this very morning, $34,868.79. I affectionately refer to my student loan debt as my summer home, because the payment in terms of its size and longevity is tantamount to a home mortgage. Unlike many students, after graduation, I was blessed with job opportunities and a loan repayment assistance program offered to me by my law school that have enabled me to remain current on my student loans and to maintain a relatively stable financial existence. This is not true for far too many students who have hardly begun to embark on their adult lives and professional careers only to find themselves crushed under the weight of massive student loan debt. As the former Secretary of IDFPR, I am especially enthusiastic about the bill's provisions that would establish licensing for student loan servicers. I was Secretary during the mortgage crisis, and the regulatory tools available to the state at that time enabled us to uncover deplorable deficiencies in the ways mortgage servicers were handling foreclosures. Analogously, establishing a regulatory framework for student loan servicers will enable the state to hold student loan servicers accountable in their dealings with students. I want to applaud Attorney General Madigan, as William said, for being one of our nation's top champions in this area. I urge the legislature to override the governor's veto. Thank you.
You have it. You have deplorable deficiencies. I think that's devastating debt. All right, he brought it. Next up, let me bring you Jody Blaylock, Senior Policy Associate with the Heartland Alliance and Illinois Asset Building Group. Jody.
Student loan debt has become a full-fledged crisis, threatening the stability of borrowers, their families, and our economy. It is the largest source of unsecured debt in the country. Young adults are starting their lives with tens of thousands of dollars in debt. Families are trying so hard to pay off student loan debt that they can't invest in a car, a home, or a new business. Older adults are even retiring with student loan debt. What's more, data released just this month tells us that the student loan crisis is disproportionately impacting Black borrowers. It is contributing to the racial wealth divide, the massive gap in wealth between white households and households of color. We see the toll that this takes firsthand with the families that we serve. Many low-income families are trying to get ahead, but simply can't build up their savings because such a large chunk of their budget is going to student loans. Rather than helping borrowers repay their loans, student loan servicers make the problem worse by not giving borrowers all of the information they need to enroll in an appropriate repayment plan. The Student Loan Bill of Rights addresses this urgent crisis by creating common sense protections, like requiring servicers to provide borrowers with repayment options and accurate billing statements, creating a student loan ombudsman, and providing oversight of servicers. We urge all state lawmakers to vote to override the governor's veto of Senate Bill 1351 and support Illinoisans as they pursue higher education and build financial prosperity for their families. Thank you.